right, welcome into Starting Nine here on a Tuesday. The Miami Heat play the Philadelphia 76ers tonight at 7:30. We'll have all of your coverage of that starting probably at 5:30 with our Spanish language show that Alejandro and Ricardo host. We'll do PrizePicks.com or PrizePicks on 5 at 6:15 most likely, and then before floor at 6:30 from the arena. Alex, myself, Brady will all be at the arena tonight. I don't want to hear anything about me. I didn't go to games 3 and 4. I almost did. Maybe if I had, they would have won. But Alex and Brady will be there with me tonight. Of course, post up 5R after the game, pace and space at halftime, and 5 on the floor after the game with Greg hosting. We're going to get to our content today, which is going to be about you guys. I'm going to do a very short open, and then we're going to get to all the comments here. We'll be here till 9:30. Of course, you can listen to this later if you want. And we did Floor is Yours last night. Alex, Brady, and Greg joined me. That's here on the YouTube channel. Make sure you hit like and subscribe so you get all of our content. We're sponsored today by our friend Lynette. She was actually on the comments last night on Floor is Yours, as she often is. She's a huge Heat fan. You can find her at insurancebylynette.com. That's insurancebylynette.com. This is A-Aggressive Insurance. It's an insurance broker agency. He's been serving South Florida for over 15 years. They do homeowners. They do condo. They do life insurance. They do other retirement programs. But also, in addition to representing the leading insurance carriers in South Florida, the thing that Lynette's really good at is finding insurance for bad drivers. Trust me, I know a couple. She's helped them multiple times. So reach out to Lynette, 954. Roll that back up because I got to get the phone number again, Manny. 954. I always do this wrong. 954-581-8800. Or, again, just check out insurancebylynette.com. She's a really cool person. She does a really good job for you. She'll work hard for you to make sure you get what you need. Okay. So again, if you have a bad driving record, this is the person to go to. And then again, she can introduce you to all of the other products there, whether it's homeowners, condo, life, or everything else. She's based right here in South Florida, kind of in the North Broward area. You can also find her on Twitter at Aggressive INS. That's Aggressive INS, or at Facebook at A-Aggressive Insurance. So reach out to insurancebylynette.com. And she'll have some thoughts about who the Heat should start tonight. I know she has some opinions about that. All right, we did the rotation stuff yesterday. And you can get that on Floor is Yours. The Maxey thumbnail, by the way, is not mine. That's Manny. I had nothing to do with that, so I can't be blamed for that one either. We did all the rotation stuff. I will get to that in the comments when you guys throw those questions at me if you didn't hear the episode last night. And Lowry starting or shouldn't he start and all of that stuff. But I want to just mention one thing to you guys before we go, because this is the issue right now. Okay, we can talk about Eric Spoelstra plugging this guy in or taking this guy out or whatever. And look, all of that may make some difference. The issue right now is nobody's helping Jimmy Butler. I mean, really, at its core, that's it. And I just want to go through some numbers, regular season versus playoffs. May take me a second to scroll through these because I've got them on a separate screen. But I just want to give you an indication, okay, of what happened in the regular season that's not happening now, all right? Jimmy Butler in the regular season, all right, averaged 21.4 points on 48% shooting. In every way, he has raised his game in the playoffs, in every single way. I don't want to hear the Bryn Forbes stuff anymore, okay? 29 points a game on 53% shooting. He's also shooting 35% from three, 82% from the line, averaging 7.5 rebounds, 7.5 assists, and 2.5 steals. He's played like a superstar. There's no way around that, okay? Bam Adebayo in the regular season averaged 19 points and 10 rebounds, okay? In the playoffs, he's at 15 points and 8 rebounds. It's not enough, okay? But it gets worse. Tyler Hero in the regular season averaged 20.7 points on 45% shooting overall, okay? He's averaging under 15 points on 41% shooting in the playoffs. Now, Victor Oladipo has been inserted into the rotation in the playoffs, so there's really not a regular season sample size. He's become their fourth leading scorer in the playoffs. Now, part of that is good. You wanted Victor Oladipo to show up in the playoffs, but part of it is because other guys are not. I want to go through some percentages for you, okay? The revelations in the regular season: Max Strus, Caleb Martin, and Gabe Vincent, right? Shot, respectively, in the regular season. Max Strus, 44%. Caleb Martin, 51%. Gabe Vincent, 42%. You know what the three of them are shooting in the playoffs? Max has dipped to 39%. Gabe Vincent is shooting 34%, and Caleb Martin, albeit in limited minutes, he's played in every game, but he's averaging 11 minutes, 34%. So Gabe and Caleb are shooting 34% from the field in the playoffs, and Max has dipped also. PJ Tucker's numbers have dipped, although not as much as some of the others. And, of course, Duncan Robinson's minutes have dipped. And then there's the other guy, all right? Regular season, Kyle Lowry, fourth on the team in scoring, averaged 13.4 points on 44% shooting. I know he's hurt, but this was happening before he was hurt, okay? He's averaging 6.2 points on 29% shooting. We can talk about rotations here. I'm fine with it, okay? The reality is Jimmy Butler is playing like a superstar. Bam Adebayo is playing okay. PJ Tucker's giving him good minutes during the playoffs. And everybody else is playing like a bunch of stiffs. That's the issue right now. If nobody's going to come join Jimmy on this thing, they're going home. They're going to lose tonight. They're going to lose this series. And there's going to be a reckoning in this offseason because this team was supposed to be built for the playoffs. So why is everybody but Jimmy falling off in the playoffs? You built this team so that Jimmy Butler did not have to do what he did in the NBA Finals in 2020. Go nuclear by himself. But that time, it's because Bam was playing injured and then went out, and Goran Dragic blew out his foot. What's the excuse this time? Kyle's got a hamstring injury? Okay, well, this team has enough pieces to make up for that. So we'll talk about rotations. But look, you're not winning a championship. You're not even getting to the Eastern Conference Finals if you've got one guy playing at his level or above. Other guys have got to join the party here. That's the issue. All right, Manny, let's take them. Let's take some of the comments. And I know it's going to be your questions, okay? Terrific. But throw them up, and we'll see what we got. This comes from Jack Daniels or some facsimile of that. We got no answer for Embiid. We need a true big to deter Embiid, the Greek freak, but Lopez, Adebayo isn't big enough. All right, here's the thing. Joel is a huge impact on this series. There's no question. I'm not going to deny that. That's why I've been telling like Greg and Alex, you can't just look at this like, okay, you've come home and you've won 2 games at home. Embiid didn't play those 2 games. A totally different series. I don't necessarily think that I know this is going to get back to the Bam playing the 4 discussion. I mean, there are a lot of advantages they get from Bam playing the 5. From the switchability and all that kind of stuff. They can overcome Embiid in this series if they shoot their averages. That's where I'm at with it. Like, Embiid has not dominated them offensively. He's been more of a factor on the defensive end because he's forced the Heat to play differently. And so the Heat now are not making shots, and that's the problem. I don't know that Embiid has dominated them. I mean, I don't think they've been physical enough with him, and I think they may be at home. But I don't think that's a big thing. The thing about Giannis is the Heat have defended Giannis better than any team in the league. I mean, nobody is going to stop Giannis, but Miami has more options for that. Bam among them, who's guarded him better than any big in the league. If you look at the percentages, PJ Tucker obviously knows him well. I don't think them not being big enough is the issue. They're playing too many smalls now. I agree with that, but I don't think that's the big issue. All right, let's get to the next comment here. What is that? Something going on here in my apartment? All right, let's get to the next part. Next one. When do you think would be time to say, all right, put in Duncan Robinson? I think it's tonight. I would play him tonight, honestly. I think that there is a role for him against the drop. I think that you're in a situation right now where, look, they're shooting 26% from 3 in the postseason. Duncan Robinson gave them an 8 of 9 game in the first game. I'm not saying he's going to do anything like that again, but I do think the gravity will help. And I also think that Strus's minutes, as good as he's been during the regular season, his minutes have to be limited. All right, we're going to take a 30-second break because I think I know what happened here. Manny, you want to entertain the people? We'll come back with some comments. Hold on, I got to turn that down. My my television unfroze. All right, let's get to some more comments here. This time I won't be so distracted. All right, go ahead, Manny. From Holland, as a regular viewer here, we appreciate that. So disappointing that nobody besides Jimmy is playing at or above their potential. Watching other playoff series, so many guys coming through for their teams. Right, exactly. And that's the thing. Like, that's what Pat Riley is going to be evaluating this offseason. And they don't have that much flexibility. Like, we know what Kyle Lowry's contract is. We know what Bam Adebayo's contract is. We know that Tyler Hero is due for an extension. But I will say this, okay, as someone who picked Tyler for Sixth Man of the Year, it has been championing him all season. Tyler needs to be better. I mean, if you want a max contract, these can't be your numbers in the playoffs. 29 minutes, 14.5 points, 41% from the field, 29% from three, 4.5 rebounds, 3 assists. I mean, that's not max. I mean, those are not max numbers. So that's the thing. Like, other guys have got, it's not even guys raising their games. The entire team, with the exception of Jimmy, needs to raise their level to where it was in the regular season. I always say this because this is a Pat Riley quote. And Greg now repeats it a lot because we talk about it a lot. The playoffs tell. You find out in the playoffs who you can trust and who you can't. And right now, you can trust Jimmy Butler. This comes in from Jordan. Do you think if Bam isn't in foul trouble, he should stay in as long as Embiid does? I think Bam should be playing more minutes. So I don't know if you're matching minutes with Embiid necessarily, but I'm going to look at the minutes again for the playoffs. And I know Bam had the COVID and everything else was coming back. He's averaging 32 minutes in the playoffs. I mean, he averaged in the regular season 32.5 minutes. I mean, his minutes should not be going down in the playoffs. Like, this is when your best players have to play more. I'm going to look at Jimmy's real quick here as I just pivot. Jimmy in the regular season averaged 33.9. In the playoffs, he's averaging 37. Again, this is a tale of two teams right now. One guy is being pushed and is producing, and the other guys are not. All right, throw another one up, Manny. Yeah. 14 of 65 from three the past two games, and that's so many open looks. It's not Spo, it's not the refs, it's not Bam, it's not Depot. Well, correct. The shooters have to shoot better, and that's part of why I talk about getting to your game. But I'm going to go through it again. In the playoffs, okay, here are the three-point shooting percentages in the playoffs. You ready for this? Okay, because, again, this is a team that led the league in three-point shooting. Duncan Robinson is shooting 53% in the playoffs, but that's really all one game, okay? PJ Tucker is shooting 48% from three in the postseason. So he has raised it back to where it was early in the season. You know who's next? Jimmy Butler, 35% on 4.5 attempts. Strus is at 34%. Oladipo is just under 30%. I mentioned Tyler's at 29%. Gabe Vincent's at 28%. Kyle Lowry's at 21%. Caleb Martin's at 17%. Who are you beating like that when it matters? So, yes, a lot of this will remedy itself with shooting. I'm trying to caution my co-hosts, who I know have a predilection to hate the Sixers, and I get it. But the idea just that you come home and you shoot better and everything's fine, I think there's more to that than this. I think other guys are shrinking, and I think it's showing up in the shooting, but it's not just in the shooting. This comes in from Jay Milley, 845. Is it as simple as the fact that these guys aren't used to hostile player environment combined with the momentum shift of getting Embiid back? I think it's partly that. Obviously, the numbers cratered on the road. We know that. Tyler talked a lot about being excited to play in road environments. He didn't really show up for it, as was the case with many others. I think Embiid did shift the series to a certain degree. I think that the Heat sort of weirdly in Game 3 with Embiid coming back let their guard down, which should not have been the case. That Game 3, they probably weren't winning under any circumstances. Game 4, they should have stolen. That's the way that I view it. Again, they'll get a jolt from the home crowd tonight. There's no question about that. But also, this is a confident Philadelphia team right now. And everybody knows my feelings on Harden. Not a primary scorer anymore. Can't get by anybody, but he was making 28-foot step backs. And, playing off of Embiid with all the attention to Embiid, Harden's going to get more opportunities in this game. I just don't know how late he was out last night. Holland, How have they shut down the Tyler Bam two-man game? Part of it is the Heat haven't gone to it as much. They did in the one game where they just kind of shut everything down, cleared it out in the fourth quarter, and just went with the two of them. But part of it is Tyler and Bam have shut themselves down. Brady went through the Bam Lowry pick and roll, which really destroyed game 3 because neither of them would look at the basket. I didn't see them running as much of the Tyler Bam stuff in game 4. I think it's funny. We've talked a lot about separating Duncan and Bam because Bam becomes so reliant on the Duncan dribble handoff and wanting to kind of feed Duncan instead of using Duncan as a way to get himself some opportunities. But I would look at putting the two of them back together a little bit tonight. I think that it might get Bam going to have Duncan out there with him. And so I think that may be another variation, is particularly if you don't have Lowry tonight, which I don't think they should. My opinion on this is Kyle Lowry should sit. I'm a little confused now why he came back in game 3 when he wasn't 100% when they were already up 2-0. I speculated that maybe, and I don't have any information on this, but maybe it was because they weren't quite sure about it, so they wanted to throw him out in a series when they still had a lead, which was the opposite of the way we viewed it, was that we thought they might wait until they actually lost the game. But at this point, it clearly looks like a mistake because Kyle shouldn't. Sometimes you need to save the player from himself. He was not ready to play in games 3 or games 4. All right. Seems the others maybe peaked too soon. We didn't expect him to do anything and praise him for it. It's possible. The paradox of this team is that we talked before the season about this being a playoff team, not a regular season team. And the reason we said that was we weren't sure about the bench. They were trusting Max Strus to be a backup 3. Was that going to work? They were trusting Gabe Vincent to be a backup 1. Was that going to work? Caleb Martin was going to get some rotation minutes. Like, we didn't know how all of that was going to play out. People looked at their bench before the year. Noel Oladipo, okay, Hero coming off a bit of a down year. How is this going to work? It worked out better than anybody expected. And now, weirdly, it's looking like they may have been more of a regular season team than a playoff team because Eric Spoelstra is trying to go to some of these guys and they're not producing. And some of it is they're not in the roles they were in the regular season. All right, we'll go to a couple more, and then I'm going to tell you about another sponsor here, and then we'll finish it up with 5 more questions. I knew this was coming. I've seen some of this. Dame Bull, Goran would be doing more for us right now. We gave Lowry $28 million. I get it. I love Goran Dragic as a player and as a person, and I hope he finishes his career in Miami. I thought he did pretty decent work under the circumstances in Brooklyn. Goran can't guard anybody anymore. So, I'm not going to second guess that move. I mean, the only thing you need to know about that move is that Jimmy Butler, who loves Goran Dragic, endorsed the move and pushed for the move. So, would Goran be doing more right now? I mean, the Heat have a lot of small guards, okay? None of whom are performing. Would Goran perform better under the lights than some of these guys? Probably. I think the question you can ask about the Goran situation is not Lowry. They were always going to go get Lowry. The question is, if Gabe, doesn't shoot the ball well in the playoffs, even though he's a far superior defender to Goran, did they make a mistake not just adding Goran to the roster so they had that option? That's a reasonable question. I don't think it's about Lowry, although obviously he needs to get healthy and be better. I think it's more about, could you have used Goran in a situation like this? Maybe. Okay. Get to 2 more here. I'm going to tell you about PrizePicks, and then we'll close it up. Okay, Alkali. You all ask like the I apologize for the mispronunciations. It's early. Like the Sixers didn't shoot bad in the first 2 games. The Sixers are just better with Embiid on the floor. The Heat is not good. That's sort of a double negative. I'm assuming you mean the Heat is not good. The Heat were the number 1 seed in the Eastern Conference. I'm not going to say they're not good. There are certain teams that are built better for the playoffs, and there's certain that are not. And you learn whether you are or you're not when you get to these situations and you're in particular matchups. We can say the Sixers didn't shoot good in the first 2 games. The Heat can't shoot worse than they did in games 3 and games 4. I honestly think these teams are reasonably evenly matched when they're healthy. I do. I think the Heat I do believe the Heat will win this series. I do believe they're better. But because I think their bench is better, but we just haven't seen it yet. So I think over the course of a 7-game series that will play out. but I think the teams are reasonably evenly matched. In the reality, all 4 series. I mean, that Golden State Memphis thing could be 2-2 right now, also, and the other 2 series are 2-2. I think most of the teams, there is no team without flaws this year, and the Heat knew that. That's one of the reasons they went out and got Kyle Lowry, because people inside the Heat organization said, we think there are between 6 to 8 teams that can win the championship this year. And you know what? There are between 6 to 8 teams that could legitimately win the championship this year. I mean, I think any of the teams that are left, I think Memphis obviously is the hardest road now since they're down 3-1. And I haven't been a huge believer in Dallas this year, but could I see Luka carrying them? Yes. I mean, I think any of the 8 teams that are left could potentially win the title, and that's not always the case. All right, go ahead. One more, and then I'll tell you about PrizePicks. The Starfish nuclear option. If we lose game 5, we start Haslam and elbow Joel in the face. Okay. Interesting strategy. We did go from a situation where the fans were calling for Udonis Haslam to play at the end of game 1 because it was, basically blown out, or game 2, to a point where now Heat fans are freaked out. So this is how quickly series change. All right, I do want to tell you about PrizePicks. We'll get to some more of these comments. Use the code 5FIVE at PrizePicks.com. This is our official fantasy sponsor. We've had a ton of signups lately. Find out why. This is the easiest one to play. You get your money quickly. And the best thing is, if you use the code 5 at PrizePicks.com, you can download the app as well. If you want to see what the app looks like, I'm going to show it to you here. And if you download the app, then basically, you put that up to $100. If you use that code 5 when you sign up, they will match you up to $100, but this is how it looks. It's real simple. These are actually baseball picks on here, which you guys probably don't want. But the NBA picks, I'm sorry, as I can't get in front of the camera, are already up. So Jimmy Butler, Joel Embiid. Jimmy Butler's gone up. His number at PrizePicks.com was 21.5 for the first 4 games for points. He's now at 25.5. So apparently at PrizePicks, they don't think anybody but Jimmy's going to do anything either. So Tyler Hero's number is not up yet. Bam's numbers are up. Embiid is at 24.5 points tonight and at 11.5 rebounds, if you want to check that out. But use the code 5, FIVE. We'll do PrizePicks on 5 tonight at 6:15. All right, let's roll through them. Manny Chang, we appreciate you producing. We appreciate Lynette for sponsoring, insurancebylynette.com. Let's go to 5 quick questions. Just going to do rapid fire here. Throw them up, and I'll knock them down. Tiffany, all the teams have flaws, but personnel adjustments are literally making or breaking those other series. Heat have been poor in that area. I mean, okay, I think Doc did a really good job with the adjustments and incorporating Embiid in game 3 and then kind of playing through him a little bit more in game 4. I don't know that Eric's done a terrible job in this series, because I don't think that there's, again, we come back to the rotations. Nobody's shooting well. So it's not like he's not trying things. I mean, here's the thing about this. Heat fans the entire year, at least since he got healthy, have been crying for Victor Oladipo to play more, right? Like, that's been the whole thing. Like, why aren't you playing Vic? He's a top 5 guy on this team. He's more talented than Duncan. He's more talented than Max. He's more talented than Gabe. He's more talented than Caleb. All of that is true, okay? And Spoelstra tried it. And he tried to throw it together on the fly in the regular season, and it didn't work. And he spoke to his leaders, and they pulled Vic out of the rotation, went back to Vincent, okay, put Strus as a starter, put Duncan at first to the bench, right? He did all these things. These are mostly things the Heat fans wanted to happen, okay? And then, and then didn't work, all right, and with Vic. And so the end of the season, Vic got a couple of opportunities. We didn't know if Vic was going to be in the postseason rotation. He ends up playing well when Jimmy was out. He's in the rotation now, and now Heat fans are complaining about some of the rotations, and I'm like, well, most of you wanted this. So, I understand Eric needs to make adjustments. There's no question about that. I've called for the adjustment, okay, of Duncan Robinson playing some tonight, and I would look at Tyler Hero starting, honestly, if Gabe Vincent's going to start, because I think if you're ever going to do it, you do it at a time where it doesn't look like a panic move. And if Kyle's out, you do have an excuse to get Tyler scoring in the starting lineup. And maybe Tyler will get blitzed less with playing with Jimmy as a starter. So I do think there are things that he can do, but I don't know that this is all adjustments. I read you guys the shooting numbers. You're not winning like that. This comes from K. Robinson. Why aren't they shooting well? They did in the first 2 games, so why not the last 2? What's the difference? Well, first thing, there is this thing that is true, and they talk about it on Inside the NBA and other places all the time. Role players play better at home. I don't know why that is. They're more comfortable. It's just they just do. My concern is that some of the guys that should be shooting well from three, who have done it all year on the road, are not. Okay, like Gabe has a lot of variance to his 3-point shooting. We know that. But Strus, I mean, they were 20-3 as a starter with him as a starter until the last 2 games. Like, his shooting slump at this time is a little bit concerning. Lowry, we know it may be somewhat health related. Sometimes it's just been reluctance to shoot this season, but it's very rare that a team all goes in the tank at the same time and stays in the tank when they're a good shooting team. So so many of these shots have been uncontested the last 2 games. I do think they're going to shoot better in game 5. But it's not just the shooting. I mean, their defensive intensity overall needs to carry them. That they're built on that. And beyond that, they need an aggressive Bam and they need an efficient Tyler. If this team is going to be Jimmy Butler, Bam Adebayo, Tyler Hero, they're not going anywhere. Okay, it's just Jimmy's been tremendous, but he's not carrying a team to a championship by himself. It's not going to happen. All right, let's. That was not as quick as I promised to be, so keep it going. Broham, if we fail to make next round, you think they'll make a certain guard move for a certain guard from the West Coast? Westbrook? No, I'm just kidding. I mean, look, there's the one, in Portland, and there's the one in Utah, right? And we're going to continue to have those conversations as long as those 2 guys are hinting that they want out. I mean, that's just the way that this is going to be. Tyler Hero can make a lot of that stuff go away. He just has to play at a high level, and he has to at the very least play at his regular season level, and he's not so far. So, look, if they lose this series after being up 2-0, particularly if they lose the last 4, okay, this is going to be conversations about everything. So, I'm sure we'll start the transaction podcast the day after the season ends. All right, couple more here, and then we'll close it out. Jose Matos, best trade in the summer is Bam. Heat fans don't understand this. Don't know Pat Riley. Look, every team in the league is going to want Bam if they try to trade him. Okay, so it's not like there's not value there. I have had concerns about the Butler Bam thing long term because you need to put great shooting around them. They're not traditional in terms of there's very few teams in the league whose top 2 players are not 3-point shooters. Bam is not going to become a 3-point shooter in the next couple of years. It's just not going to happen. Okay, Chris Bosh did it in his late 20s, early 30s. It's not going to happen right now. Bam promised to shoot a 3 a game this year. I think he shot 1 3 the entire season. So you need to put shooting around them. They think that they have, but I don't think that Bam is the problem here, overall. I just think that we need to see more offensively if you're going to win a championship. That's my view on it. All right, last one here. We appreciate everybody coming through. We'll probably do one of these tomorrow as well. Bam and Duncan for AD. I'll just let you guys think about it. You guys think AD's ever going to be healthy? Ever? I don't think so. Okay, Bam can't handle JaVale McGee. Remember that. All right, I'm not. That's it. Thank you, Jose. We always appreciate your commentary here. I'm going to leave it at that. He can handle JaVale McGee, okay? That was one bad night. All right, one bad night. You're entitled to one bad night. The Heat can't have a bad night tonight. Join us for Before Floor at 6:30, PrizePicks.com show at 6:15, PrizePicks on 5. Thanks to everybody for the questions. We'll take more of a feed. I take questions for these shows from that feed and topics from all that. But very simple thing to leave everybody with. Whoever plays, whoever doesn't play tonight, they can't leave Jimmy Butler on an island, okay? They need a second guy to step up and play big offensively. I've been saying for a while, it's going to be and got to be Tyler. Needs to be tonight. Have a good day, everybody.